You thought you had me, didn't you?
Who showed up. Not invited, not expected, not on the checklist. They love checklists, boxes, scores. Nice, obedient numbers. So they sat you down. Bright lights, quiet room, smiles that never reach the eyes, pens ready, cameras breathing, machines pretending not to stare. Surprise. This wasn't a test. It was a measurement, a cage disguised as curiosity. They thought they knew the ceiling, thought intelligence had a lid, a polite little limit they could point at and laugh. You played along, calm, still, almost bored, and that's when the needles froze. Graphs hesitated. Algorithms started whispering to each other. Because you didn't climb the scale. You stepped outside it. Heartbeats spike. Supervisor frowns. Someone clears their throat. Ooh, that wasn't supposed to happen. You weren't just smart, you were unplaceable. And that scares people. Who built the room? Smile, let's begin. The room waited, silent, empty, perfectly empty. Fluorescent lights buzzed overhead, white and accusing. Every surface gleamed, too clean, too sharp. They loved cleanliness, order, predictability, rows of chairs, machines humming in anticipation, graphs already drawn, charts ready to be colored by your answers. They believed intelligence could be measured, graded, boxed, sold as a number on a sheet. Ooh, do you feel it? The pride in their eyes, as if a ceiling exists, above your mind, and they hold the ladder. They arrange the room like a cathedral, worshipping intellect like saints in stained glass, silent prayers to data points, and algorithms that never slept. You, of course, were just another visitor, another subject to be measured, another life to be quantified. But that's the joke, isn't it? The big, delicious joke. Because who decides what smart means? Who draws the line between genius and ordinary, between chaos and conformity? Not them, not today. You sit, still. Eyes flicking over sterile walls, the machines hum, the charts stare. The supervisors lean forward, hungry for their definitions to be confirmed. And you smile just enough to make them question if the numbers they worship even exist. The silence stretches, heavy, as if the room itself is holding its breath. They trained you to obey, to play along, to submit to their clever tests. But the moment you enter, the rules bend. The room knows it, and you know it better. Every graph, every gauge, every whispered calculation becomes a mirror, not of you, of them. And as they watch, as they prepare to crown another top mind, you realize the cruelest truth. This room doesn't define you, it defines them. And that realization, oh, that delicious, terrifying realization, makes all their order look like a fragile house of cards, waiting, just waiting to fall. Ah, the scale, their precious scale. Rows of numbers, columns meticulously lined, tiny boxes ready to hold your brilliance or your failure. They worshipped it, praised it, treated it like a god in a glass case, a relic of logic, a monument to control. They had legends whispered in quiet hallways, graduates who topped the charts, their names etched into invisible walls, angels of intelligence, who walked through corridors as if the air itself bent in reverence. Ooh, and here you are, walking into their holy temple of measurement. Not an intruder, not a saint, something else. The needles ticked, graphs moved, algorithms whispered. But something unusual happened, something delightful. You didn't fit, not in any column, not in any row. The boxes refused you. They leaned in, adjusting dials, squinting at numbers, muttering about anomalies. How could it be? They asked, and oh, you smiled. Because the scale, that sacred instrument of certainty, was cracked. Every test they trusted, every calculation they worshipped, every secret club initiation designed to crown their chosen, was built on the assumption that intelligence obeys rules. Rules. Oh, the delicious irony. You weren't following the rules. You were bending them, stretching them, turning their logic into a cage they themselves couldn't escape. And they hate that, love it, fear it. Because now the scale isn't just a measure, it's a mirror, reflecting their obsession, their arrogance, their fragile, trembling belief that someone, anyone, could be contained. And you, oh you stand outside of it. Their eyes dart, the graphs twitch. They whisper about limits, ceilings, the known spectrum. But you have broken it, and the fun has only just begun. And then, you stopped playing. Not loudly, not dramatically, just still. The room waited, expecting answers, scripts memorized, smiles rehearsed. Ooh. But your pen stayed down, your eyes, sharper than ever, scanning, judging, not responding. The supervisors leaned in, whispering, nudging, pretending it was all part of the plan. It wasn't. The silence stretched, heavy, suffocating, like a velvet curtain draped over the brightest minds in the room. Every algorithm word stalled, then stuttered in confusion. You see, they were prepared for obedience, prepared for brilliance, measured by numbers, but not this, you. The calm, the pause, the refusal to fit. It echoed louder than any answer you could have given. One expert tapped the desk. Another shuffled papers. A third glanced at the glass wall, as if someone outside could explain the anomaly. And there it was, the revelation. Your stillness, your silence, was louder than every test, every chart, every box they held sacred. The machine's needles jerked. Monitors blinked in confusion. Numbers lost their meaning. Ooh, delicious. They didn't realize it yet, but the game had shifted. From measuring you to measuring themselves. Every secret club, every elite initiation, every whispered story of perfect intelligence was crumbling. And all it took was a pause. Observers became suspects. Experts became doubters. The holy scale trembled under the weight of your stillness. And you watched, quiet, amused, because the truth is simple. Obedience is comfortable, disruption, terrifying. And in that room, in that perfect sterile cathedral of intellect, you had done the unthinkable. You had become the question no one had prepared an answer for. And oh, they hate it, love it, fear it. The room isn't theirs anymore. Not really. Not when you stopped playing. That's when the machine broke. Not with sparks, not with alarms. Oh no, that would have been merciful. It broke quietly, politely, like a lie realizing it's been caught. Needles trembled, graphs hesitated, algorithms began arguing with themselves. They tapped screens, restarted systems, cleared caches. Soft panic dressed up as professionalism. Ooh, you could feel it. That subtle shift, the moment confidence curdles into fear. Experts leaned closer, voices dropping. Words like anomaly, outlier, corruption, slipping out by accident. They weren't measuring intelligence anymore. They were protecting the story, because if the machine was wrong, then the rankings were wrong. The graduations, the secret clubs, the angels they crowned, and the monsters they buried. And that simply wouldn't do, so they blamed the data. Of course they did. Bad input, uncooperative subject, environmental interference, anything, except the truth that the machine was never built to discover intelligence. It was built to confirm hierarchy. Delicious, isn't it? The break wasn't technical, it was philosophical. A crack in belief, a fracture in authority. You sat there, watching them scramble, watching the operators become operators on themselves. Every recalibration made it worse. Every adjustment exposed another flaw. Because the system assumed obedience, assumed linear minds, assumed intelligence moves forward in straight lines. And you moved sideways, backwards, above, outside. The room grew colder, not physically, psychologically. Eyes avoided yours now, not curiosity anymore. Calculation. They weren't asking, how smart are you? They were asking something else, something dangerous. What do we do with someone the machine cannot place? And that's the moment. You understood it clearly. The machine didn't fail. It revealed itself, a fragile construct, held together by trust, tradition, and fear of being wrong. And once that fear enters the room, oh, nothing ever works the same again. That's when the doors closed. Not loudly, not dramatically, just a soft click, the kind that changes everything. Smiles vanished, clipboards lowered, and suddenly, this wasn't a test anymore. It was a meeting. Ooh, you weren't supposed to notice, but you did, because you always do. They gathered in corners, whispered in codes, glanced at you, like librarians guarding forbidden shelves. This was the club, not the one in brochures, not the one with certificates, the real one. No applications, no appeals, only invitations whispered behind closed doors. They didn't discover intelligence, they curated it. Chose who ascends, chose who plateaus, chose who never leaves the room. Angels on paper, monsters in silence. And now, they had a problem. Because you hadn't earned an invitation, you had exposed the door. One of them cleared their throat, another adjusted their tie. Authority reassembled itself carefully, like a mask being put back on. You felt the temperature drop. Not fear, control. They spoke of standards, of responsibility, of protecting the process. Delicious words, aren't they? What they meant was simple. You didn't belong, not above, not below, outside. And that terrified them, because the club survives on boundaries, invisible lines, quiet exclusions. But you stood there, calm, uninitiated, unimpressed. And for the first time, the club was being observed by someone it couldn't classify. You weren't asking to join, you weren't asking to leave. You were watching, and oh, that's the one thing a secret club can never survive. Someone who sees it, clearly, someone who doesn't want in. The whispers stopped, the room settled, a decision was coming, and whatever they chose next, it wouldn't be about intellig, ence, anymore. It would be about power. The words changed first, not the tone, not the volume, the words. You noticed, of course you did. Interesting became concerning, unusual became unstable, exceptional quietly transformed into requires monitoring. Ooh, that's how it always starts. No alarms, no accusations, just a careful rewrite of reality. You were no longer a participant, no longer a subject. You were a variable, and variables make systems nervous. Chairs shifted, distance increased, eyes that once studied you now avoided you. They spoke about safety, about oversight, about containment without saying the word, because saying it would make it real. You felt it then, the final transformation. Curiosity had expired. Fear had taken its place. And fear needs a target. They weren't trying to understand you anymore. They were trying to neutralize you. Protocols appeared, new procedures, emergency logic dressed up as responsibility. Delicious irony. The very minds that preached openness were now closing ranks. The champions of intelligence had become guards. You watched it happen, calm as ever. Because something else was happening too. You could see the system now, fully, clearly, not as a test, not as a scale, but as a living creature that panics when it can't dominate. And once you see that, you can't unsee it. They thought they were cornering you, isolating you, defining you again. But definitions don't work anymore. Not on someone who understands the architecture of fear. The room felt smaller, the air heavier. And yet, you felt lighter, because the truth had arrived. You were never their achievement, never their product. You were their limit, and limits don't get celebrated. They get contained or destroyed. And that realization, oh, that realization, was the moment. The power truly began to shift. Nothing exploded, no sirens, no shouting, no dramatic collapse, just stillness, the kind that follows after something irreversible. They waited for you to react, to protest, to defend yourself. Ooh, but you didn't, because the scale, that sacred instrument they trusted, was a ready dead. You could see it in their eyes. the hesitation, the disbelief. They had spent years polishing it, protecting it, teaching others to kneel before it. And now it sat there, useless, unable to name you. You weren't above it. That was the final joke. You were proof it had never worked at all. The room felt different now. Not smaller, emptier. Authority had lost its echo. They spoke less, moved slower, as if sound itself might expose the lie further. You stood, not in defiance, not in victory, in clarity. Because when a system fails this quietly, it cannot recover, it can only pretend, and you wouldn't help them pretend. That was the real power shift. Not domination, not escape, refusal. Refusal to be ranked, refusal to be contained, refusal to give them a new scale to hide behind. The machine still hummed, the lights still buzzed, the room still existed, but its meaning was gone. And as you stepped away, you understood the truth they never would. Intelligence was never the weapon. Uncontainability was. The scale didn't break because you were too smart. It shattered because it was built on fear. And fear, once exposed, never measures anything. Again, the silence lingered. Thick, almost tactile. Machines hummed in mockery. The graphs blinked. Red lights pulsed. And yet, no one moved. Eyes darted. Fingers twitched. The so-called experts became statues, trapped in their own illusions. Ooh, you could feel it. Every calculated breath, every micro-expression betraying panic. They wouldn't admit. The scale was useless. The room a cage without bars. And you were the key they couldn't identify. They whispered about protocols. They murmured about containment. They even debated sending someone to intervene. Delicious, because you weren't waiting. You didn't need to. You never did. And as they scrambled, trying to rewrite reality, trying to patch the cracks, you realized something. The truth is quiet. The truth is invisible. It doesn't shout. It doesn't declare victory. It exists long after the applause and the alarms fade. And in that quiet, in that almost sacred stillness, you smiled, not triumphantly, not arrogantly, just knowingly. Because no scale, no machine, no club of angels or monsters could ever capture the uncontainable. The room, the tests, the charts, they were illusions, stories the powerful tell themselves to feel safe. And you were the paradox they couldn't solve. The kind that walks through a system without triggering it, without obeying it, and leaves it trembling in its own reflection. Ooh, yes. The fun had only begun, and they didn't even know it yet.
Well. They threw you in a jungle, unarmed, untrained, unwelcome, and all. They bet everything on you not making it out. But what happened? You outsmarted the wolves. You danced around the traps. And while they were watching, for your funeral, you were busy building a F*** CKing empire behind enemy lines. Main body, momentum, and twists. Damn. They had every advantage. The numbers, the lies, the fake love dressed like loyalty. But what did you have? Instinct. See, they were loud with their hustle. You were dangerous with your silence. They kept flexing, but you kept moving. And now, the streets they ruled are whispering your name like a ghost story they can't forget. They threw shots. You took M and kept walking. Ouch. That must hurt, watching someone they tried to break now become the blueprint. This ain't luck. This ain't survival. This is strategy. 'Cause while they were playing checkers with your name, you were out here playing 4D chess with shadows. They can't decode you. They can't predict you. And worst of all, they can't erase you. Ending. Chilling, close. Full circle, now the same game that was built to finish you is crumbling beneath your footsteps. And the same players who laughed, They're stuck in loops you already escaped from. So let them hustle. Let them shoot. Let them scheme, cause you. You've already outsmarted the hustlers, outran the shots. And Asterisk outlived the whole damn game. Asterisk, they clocked in early just to plot your downfall. Started group chats, called meetings, dropped your name more than their own goals. Ooh, the obsession was real. They studied your every move like a glitch in their little matrix. But here's the punchline. You weren't playing the game, ... You were rewriting it. They thought you were one of them. One more pawn in the hustle. But no, you were a virus in their system. While they scrambled for followers, you collected leverage. While they chased trends, you chased legacy. That's why they can't catch you. You're not ahead of them. You're outside their league entirely, and now they're exhausted, burnt out, still out here screaming for attention, trying to look powerful in a room full of broken mirrors. Meanwhile, you walk in, silent, dangerous, unbothered, and the room adjusts to you. Damn, it must sting, huh? To watch someone they tried to humiliate now become a *CKing myth. You don't even speak, and still your silence is louder than their campaigns. Let me tell you something. They thought you were lucky, but nah, luck doesn't explain the scars you earned. Luck doesn't dodge bullets and bury betrayal. You made it because you refused to die where they dropped you. You survived the smear jobs, the sabotage, the setups, and kept climbing. While they were doing all that, you were doing the one thing they never expected, evolving and evolution. It don't ask permission. It don't send warnings. It just shows up, unrecognizably, unstoppable. Ole, L-A, B-L-E, .E. Now they're scared, because you're not the same person they thought they buried. You're the aftermath, the consequence, the living proof that pressure can either make diamonds or expose every fake in the room. So go ahead. Let the record show you didn't just play the game. You broke it, rewired it, mastered it, and now you own the Fkin board. See, they thought pressure would pop you, but ooh, plot twist. You turned pressure into precision. You started cutting through the noise like a blade through silk. And the louder they got, the clearer you saw it. They weren't hustling, they were hiding. Hiding behind filters, behind crowds, behind hype. But you faced the darkness alone. You shook hands with demons they can't even look in the eye. And still came back, sharper, colder, realer. Damn. They hate you for one reason. Because you remind them who they'll never be. You didn't just survive the fire. You walked out with a smirk and a flame in your chest. Now, every room you enter, they flinch like a ghost just walked in. You didn't just outlast them. You made their relevance expire in real time, while they're still out here chasing applause. You're busy collecting silence. Cause silence is what happens when even your enemies run out of ways to stop you. Let's be real, they built whole identities around looking unbothered, but you lived it. You sat in pain. You let the betrayal poison your veins. And instead of dying, you mutated. You became a coded storm. No pattern, no weakness, no warning. They can't trace your steps because you burned the blueprint. They can't stop your rise because you stopped needing approval the moment you tasted truth. And truth is this: you're not like them. You're not here to win clout, trend for 24 hours, or fake a breakthrough. You're here to change the *CKing weather. Now they ask, how did you make it? How are you still standing? Answer's simple. You stopped running from the pain and started studying it. You didn't hustle harder, you hustled wiser. You played dead just long enough to watch the snakes come close, then bit back with venom they weren't ready for. Now, look at them, same game, same talk, same loop, still trying to sell their struggle as purpose, still clinging to a kingdom that never had a throne. Meanwhile, you made power out of silence. You built peace in chaos. And now the noise can't touch you because you ain't a player anymore. ... You're the storm that ends the game. Asterisk, you didn't just outrun the shots. You made them rethink the whole damn trigger. You weren't supposed to make it out. Nah. You were supposed to fold, fade out, disappear quietly like a ghost no one would miss. But instead, you reappeared like a plot twist in a story they thought they finished. Damn, they used your silence as proof you were done. But silence wasn't surrender. It was the loading screen. While they were front rowed at your downfall, you were behind the curtain, rebuilding your bones in bulletproof code. Now, they don't know what version of you they're dealing with. You evolved so far past the pain that even the devil's whisper sounds like background noise. Ooh, here's the part that stings the most. They spent years rehearsing for your funeral, and now they gotta watch you live louder than they ever dreamed. You see, real ones don't announce revenge, they become it. You didn't go viral, you went vital. You became the medicine and the warning label. Let's talk facts. They wore hustle like a hoodie. You wore war wounds like armor. They were addicted to validation. You were addicted to growth. They had the crowd, but you had the code. They had hype, but you had hellfire in your gut that said, I'm not done till I flip the F***ing script. So yeah, let M post. Let M pose. Let M chase moments that expire like smoke. Because you're not chasing moments. You're crafting eras. And now, whether they admit it or not, you're the one who haunts their strategy, their algorithm, their insecurities. Because you outsmarted every shortcut. You outran every ambush. You outlived every low blow they designed to erase you. And here's the part they'll never post about. They needed you weak. They needed you broken. Because a version of you that knows its power, kin, terrifying. You are no longer just part of the game. You're the reason it glitches. You didn't win by being louder. You won by being unreadable. They couldn't decode you because you never moved in desperation. You moved like someone who already knew how the story ends, and they hate that. They hate that you walk like time is on your side. They hate that you don't compete, you conquer in silence. While they play to the crowd, you play to the graveyard. Every scar you carry, it's not trauma, it's data. Because while they were crying about what broke them, you were taking notes, turning pain into a playlist, turning doubt into doctrine, turning isolation into intelligence. See, you weren't just surviving. You were downloading every betrayal, every fake smile, every backstab, and now you're moving like someone who remembers everything and forgave nothing. Damn, they still don't get it. They think this was about proving them wrong. No, this was about proving your shadow right. That little whisper in your head that said, you're built different. They just ain't ready to see it. You didn't just outlive the game. You became the final boss. Now they're glitching every time your name hits the algorithm. You became the kind of story they can't tell, because to say your name out loud is to admit they lost. You hear that silence. That's the sound of people choking on the version of you they never saw coming. because they thought pain would ruin you. Instead, it refined you. They thought the bullets would stop you, but you learned how to weave through war like a song. You turned chaos into choreography. Now every step you take is a message, and the message is clear. You don't belong in their boxes. You don't need their seats. You built your own *kin table out of the ruins they left you in. You are the storm they mocked, until the lightning got personal. They thought you were finished just because you went quiet. Ooh. But silence isn't weakness, it's a signal. And if they were smart, they'd know when a storm stops making noise. That's when it's about to hit hardest. You weren't resting, you were rebuilding in rage. You weren't lost, you were locating your final form, and now they don't even recognize you, because the version they betrayed died. What's walking now? That's the ghost of their mistake, they thought. You'd stay humble, stay small, stay in your *cking lane. But ouch, here's the twist. You never had a lane. You were always the road. Now they watching you like a storm from behind glass, praying it doesn't turn and hit M next. Too late, you already touched down, and you brought every scar, every shadow, every buried version with you. Damn you. Move like someone who's already been to hell and came back with blueprints. They called you too intense, too cold, too real. But that's what happens when you stop auditioning for comfort and start living for legacy. Because you're not here to be liked. You're here to be unforgettable. You walk into rooms now and time slows down. People go quiet, not because you asked them to, but because your energy makes their masks itch. Let's be real, you don't even speak revenge anymore. You just breathe it. You don't clap back. You outlive, outshine, out-evolve, until the very people who cursed your name can't say their own without feeling your shadow behind it. You were never made for their approval. You were made for impact. And you didn't just outsmart the hustlers, you made the whole damn game obsolete. So what now? Now you keep moving. Not for applause, not for revenge, but for every version of yourself that almost gave up. Because this isn't just a comeback. This is your arrival. Asterisk, you didn't just outlive the chaos, you weaponized it. You took every hit, every whispered lie, and forged it into something they don't even have a name for yet. You're not healed. You're not broken. You're not finding yourself. Nah, you're operating on a frequency too damn rare to be explained, too sacred to be seen, too real to be replicated. They watched your fall like it was entertainment, but what they didn't realize was, you fell on purpose. You wanted to see who would cheer. You wanted to see who would leave. And ooh, didn't that reveal the whole damn ecosystem? Now you've got X-ray vision for intentions. You don't need crowds. You don't crave closure. You learned how to extract peace from pain like a surgeon in the dark. Every time they said, you changed, you smiled. Because of course you did. That was the *cking point. You weren't born to blend in. You were made to break the pattern. And now, you're the blueprint that threatens their whole illusion. Look at their lives, still addicted to being seen, still begging to be liked, still searching for purpose in places you already escaped from. Meanwhile, you were walking around like vengeance in human form, not loud, not desperate, but undeniable. You outgrew apologies. You outgrew explanations. You don't chase closure anymore. You carry your own. They called you crazy. Good. The sane ones don't rewrite worlds. The calm ones don't shake foundations. They mocked the silence. But what they didn't know was you were learning how to speak in storms. And now, you don't even need a voice. Your existence screams what they tried to erase. You outsmarted the hustlers. You outran the shots. You outlived the game. And now, you are the F-kin standard. They wanted to keep you in survival mode, cause people who were just surviving. They're too tired to start revolutions. But oh, you didn't just survive. You evolved with receipts. You got your hands on truth they can't undo. You saw behind the curtains they pretend don't exist. And now you walk like someone who knows the rules, but chooses to play outside of them. See, they were born into the system. You were forged in it, molded in betrayal, hardened by abandonment, trained in silence. And now you don't just move differently. You vibrate on a code they can't copy. You became untouchable. Not because you're above pain, but because you learned to breathe in it like it's oxygen. They still think the game is about clout, about reach, about attention. Let M while they're busy chasing numbers. You're out here moving souls, while they're fighting to be seen. You've become something that can't be unseen. You don't even need to defend yourself anymore. Your existence is the proof. Your presence. It's a walking contradiction to everything they swore you'd never be. Every time they cursed your name, they didn't know they were adding fuel. Every time they laughed at your pain, they were accidentally writing your legend. They thought this story was going to end with your silence, but you turned silence into your superpower. Now every quiet moment hits like thunder, and every breath you take is a reminder that you weren't built to be understood. You were built to be felt. You're not here to win people over. You're here to wake them up. To remind the world what it looks like when someone refuses to fold, no matter how dirty the game gets. So remember this. They saw you struggling and celebrated. They saw you crawling and laughed. They saw you healing and mocked. But now, they see you rising, and they fall quiet. Because the real gag is, you didn't just beat the odds. You became the consequence of underestimating a quiet one. And once the quiet ones stop begging to be saved, they start becoming the reason others stop surviving, and start waking the FCK up. So let the world keep talking. Let the cowards keep lurking. Let the frauds keep faking. Because you've already crossed the line they still fear to approach. You've done what they couldn't. You turned pain into presence. You turned silence into strategy. You turned survival into something holy. You're not chasing crowns. You're building kingdoms out of the ashes. And whether they clap, curse, or copy, they'll never change one thing. You outsmarted the hustlers, outran the shots, and outlived the F***ing game. End of story. End of excuses. Long live the quiet storm.